Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nation and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. Well, good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome those present to the College of Law here at the University of Saskatchewan, and also a warm welcome to those who are joining us via live stream for the 2017 Saskatchewan Access to Legal Information Conference, which is part of the Second Annual Saskatchewan Access to Justice Week. For those of you who don't know, my name is Martin Phillipson, and I'm the Dean here at the College of Law. I would love to spend the afternoon with you, but I have all the Law Deans of Canada upstairs in a boardroom. I'm hosting them today, so I have to go and keep them happy. But I'm delighted to be here to welcome you. The Saskatchewan Access to Legal Information, or SALI project, was set up to increase access to legal information for Saskatchewan residents. The project emerged from the Dean's Forum on Access to Justice and Dispute Resolution, having identified access to legal information as one of the critical components of access to justice. The primary purpose of this conference is to bring together legal scholars, library science scholars, legal information providers, and public representatives from urban, rural, and remote areas of the province to discuss the role of libraries in improving access to legal information. The overall goal of the conference will be to develop actionable strategies for making legal information more accessible through public libraries. I want to express my appreciation to our generous sponsors who've made this conference possible: the U of S Conference Fund, the Canadian Bar Association Saskatchewan Chapter, the U of S Library, the Saskatchewan Ministry of Justice, the Law Society of Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Library Association, and McKercher LLP. My thanks also to you for joining us today for what promised to be an engaging and enlightening sharing of thoughts. I'd also like to thank Beth Wilson and Bree for their sterling work in getting this project going, this program going, and I wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diane Gardner. I'm the Deputy Minister of Justice and Deputy Attorney General for the province. First of all, thanks for the invitation, and it's a privilege for me to be here today and tomorrow. In the midst of all of the other things that I do as deputy, it's nice to get out and, as I describe events like this, get a bit of fresh air. So I'm looking forward to meeting you and talking with you over the next day and a half, and I welcome you. It's really good to see so many representatives from Saskatchewan libraries and other justice stakeholders from around the province here today. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to the next day and a half. I look out at some fairly familiar faces in the crowd, and some people that I'm looking forward to meeting. I have to tell you that all of you have been sort of indispensable partners in provincial efforts to make justice services more accessible in the province, and for that I thank you. The work that's currently being done by library staff, the Law Society, Pro Bono Law Saskatchewan, PLEA, and many others is, I think, a distinct step forward for public access to justice and legal information in this province. I have a bit of a personal stake in all of this. I've spent a big part of my career trying to make the justice system more accessible and understandable for people. And I first became involved with this particular work in my former position as the Assistant Deputy Minister of Innovation with the Ministry of Justice. And it always stuck out for me that one of the best examples of how the justice system can work together to educate the public about the legal system, legal issues, justice issues, was the work that you folks were doing. And now the Saskatchewan Access to Legal Information Project's underway, or SALI, and I'm excited that we may be able to expand this work to serve more citizens across the province. I'm looking forward to talking about how we might do that. The Dean stole some of my thunder about the Dean's Forum, so I'm going to leave that one alone. I'd also noted that as well. This is just one of many good initiatives, good work that has sprung out of the Dean's Forum. I also want to add, I'm particularly interested and grateful for the role of public libraries in this work. I think it only makes sense for them to play a role in this. There are a number of things if I can digress from it, there are a number of things that are currently sort of floating around in the justice field, and I want to make a distinction, because I use the words legal information, justice kind of interchangeably, but I've always thought of this, I'm the Deputy Minister of Justice, and I always think of the justice system like, you know, nesting bowls. We have sort of courts and tribunals are the smallest bowl. That bowl kind of nests in this bigger bowl, which we call the legal system or law. And then there's this bigger bowl, which is the justice system that encompasses all aspects of how we understand and achieve justice in our society. So when I use those words, legal information or justice information, I'm quite intentional about it. There are a number of things being considered to sort of improve justice service delivery, the working and the understandability, the accessibility of the justice system. Everything from better access to legal information, like you're talking about here, to justice access centers, where, you know, citizens can have more ready access to legal and justice services. You know, community courts, specialty courts, number of reforms in justice, in access to justice across the country. So it's an exciting time. And this work, I don't think you can get any more fundamental than having people have access to quality, understandable justice and legal information. I think all of this gets built on that premise. So it's all on your shoulders. Take it away. It all just pivots on you. Sorry, but a little heavy responsibility. So I'm inspired to see so many people here from across the province, and in the next couple of days I urge you to take part in the discussion, share your ideas how we can move forward and improve access to justice in the province. I look forward to our group meetings, and I also look forward to talking to a number of you individually. So thank you.
So good afternoon, and welcome to the College of Law at the University of Saskatchewan. My name is Beth Wilson, and as Gwen and Martin have said, I'm one of the people who's been on the organizing committee for this conference. And it has been a real pleasure to work on this project as it has unfolded, and I think it has so much potential to actually make changes that need to be made. I wanted to sort of start by saying that this particular session, from now till about 3 o'clock or something like that, is we're going to sort of introduce ourselves to each other. That is, we're going to use this session to have people talk a bit about why they're here, why they think this initiative is important, what their own sort of needs and expectations of this event are. So we'll be getting to that in a few minutes, but I want to start by putting in context this event. Both Martin Phillipson and Gwen Gardner have mentioned the Dean's Forum, which indeed was the grandfather of this event. And I think that it might be helpful for those of you who haven't come into contact with the Dean's Forum before to have some explanation of what we're talking about when we talk about the Dean's Forum. The Dean's Forum was an initiative of the then Deputy Minister of Justice and Deputy Attorney General Gerald Taggart and the then Dean of Law, Sanjeev Anand. And it really was Saskatchewan's response to the recommendations in a number of national reports, which suggested that individual provinces should consider ways of moving forward on issues related to access to justice, and that they should find some structure to do that. And the idea that Jerry Taggart and Sanjanand had was that rather than, as it is in some places, focusing the enterprise on the courts and the Ministry of Justice, that it should be a partnership between the Ministry of Justice and the College of Law. So the Dean's Forum brings together, usually once a year. There was in 2013-14, there were 2 sessions. But the Dean's Forum brings together stakeholders from the justice system, from the courts, from the Law Society, from the Ministry of Justice, voluntary organizations who have interests in the access to justice area, the Canadian Bar Association, Pro Bono Saskatchewan, the Public Legal Education Association, which has been mentioned as well. And the really exciting thing, I think, about the fact that the College of Law has been hosting this set of initiatives is that it allows for the involvement of our students in preparing discussion materials and doing research projects related to access to justice. And I think that has been a very exciting dimension of this whole set of developments, is that law students have from the beginning been very closely involved with this. And in fact, you will meet some of our students this afternoon and tomorrow, because a number of them have volunteered to assist with this conference in various ways. Partly as recorders, so that we can keep track of what the discussion, where the discussion leads. But I'm sure they can also, point you in the direction of the washroom and that sort of thing that you might need to know. The Dean's Forum has had a number of really exciting spin-offs, I think. One of them, which is one of the organizing forces behind this conference, is the Create Justice Research Center, which has been in operation for about a year, which was created and established as a university research center to provide a hub for research and engagement on access to justice issues. And we're very fortunate, I think, that this enterprise, the Create Justice Center, has had a lot of support from the Law Foundation of Saskatchewan and from the Ministry of Justice in getting off the ground. And of course, we're very fortunate to get funding from the Law Foundation of Saskatchewan to fund support for our indefatigable access to justice coordinator, Bree Lowenberger, without whom I assure you none of this would be happening. So that's one of the things that was an offspring of the Dean's Forum, was the establishment of the Create Center. There's also a working group, which is a subset, if you like, of the Dean's Forum, a group of representatives of stakeholders that have been coming together to start talking about how to identify particular issues or particular initiatives that might be undertaken, that might be moved forward in the policy area or as particular concrete projects. So that working group has had several meetings and is working hard to move some of the discussion that takes place in the Dean's Forum into a more sort of active phase. And we're very glad that Michelle Leering was here to share in this. There is another example, is that there is the beginnings of a network to explore the intersection between health and justice issues. So on Wednesday we had a seminar which Michelle was involved in, which looked at some of those issues. How are health issues and justice issues related to each other, and what does that mean for partnerships and collaboration between the stakeholders in the justice system and the stakeholders in the healthcare system? Another child of the Dean's Forum is this project. At one of the sessions of the Dean's Forum, there was a discussion paper presented by a group of students which was called Putting the Public First, which identified a number of issues which are of primary importance to members of the public in their interface with legal issues and the justice system. And access to legal information was one of the issues that was identified in that discussion as one that's of significance to everyone who has any interaction with the justice system or has any legal issue that they're facing in their own lives. So what happened was that there was a working group put together and developed the charming name, Saskatchewan Access to Legal Information Project, SALI. And the partners in that working group were three kinds of libraries: representatives of the Law Society libraries, the University of Saskatchewan Library, and the Saskatoon Public Library, as well as the Public Legal Education Association and the College of Law. So that group got together and started talking about what we might do to look at the access to legal information issue as an access to justice issue. And the first initiative that the group came up with was a symposium, which was held in the fall of 2016, and some of you were present at that time, which we had a group of about 20 people. And we were very delighted to have people from libraries in different parts of the province, as well as the original SALI partners, also people from the Ministry of Justice. We had a representative from 211 Saskatchewan, which is an online referral service that is being developed by the United Way. And tomorrow I think you'll hear from Judy Shum of the United Way, who's involved in that project. We also had people from Pro Bono Saskatchewan, from Classic, which is the inner city law clinic that law students are connected with. So we had a day of really good discussion, and as a result of that symposium, there were a number of projects that were undertaken on the spot. I mean, there were a number of things that came out of it which have been moving forward. The development particularly of kind of communication channels between different legal information entities and libraries. There were a couple of articles in the Ventures Digest, which is the Law Society publication. There were a number of postings on the Law Society's blog, which is called Legal Sorcery. And there is an article going to appear in the Windsor Yearbook for Access to Justice, which Bree Lowenberger and Graham Sharp, who was an undergraduate student in the College of Law at the time, and I worked on, and that should be coming out sometime soon. But that really was kind of something that came out of that original symposium. The other thing that the people at the symposium wanted to do was to continue to talk about these issues. And so one of the suggestions that came out of that symposium was the idea of a broader conference, a conference which would invite people from different kinds of perspectives and where we might have some ideas brought in from other jurisdictions to talk about. And so we're very excited that Janet Freeman, Michelle Leering, and John Greason have agreed to participate, as well as someone who really comes from a remote area, Nalini Vadapalli, who's with the Law Society of Nunavut, who will be joining you virtually tomorrow as a member of a panel. You may or may not know that the College of Law has 25 students in Iqaluit since September. We were successful in obtaining the right, I guess, to offer a law program in Nunavut. So we're interested in exploring the kinds of connections there might be and the possibility of setting up a sort of analogy to the Dean's Forum in Nunavut to involve those students in the same kind of things that our students have been involved in. So our hope for this conference is that which the symposium, the people at the symposium decided that the next conference should be sort of focused on the possible role of public libraries as kind of a portal for the public to legal information. And so, although I'm sure you'll talk about other things, you will notice that that's the theme of a number of the presentations and the discussions that will take place. And we're hoping that as a result of this conference, the SALI partners will have been pointed in the direction of some more concrete initiatives that we can move forward on. And you will be hearing some presentations, some information, some people drawing on their experience to give you some idea of what they've encountered. But we also hope that you will tell us about your experiences and that you will share what you think your patrons need, or your organization, what your organization's interest is in this whole area, so that we can really sort of move forward with a set of partnerships that I think are really important here. So I'm going to move now to introduce you to the SALI partners, and I will come to you. So I'm going to start with the SALI partners because they've been involved with this from the beginning, and so I expect them not to be shy about telling you what they've been doing. But please understand that eventually it's going to come around to you because we are going to ask everyone here to stand up and tell us why they came and what they are hoping to get out of this conference, and what sort of needs in the legal information area they and their group have. So I think I'll start with Bree.
All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm delighted that the day has finally come, that you're all here. It's been a long time in the works as far as planning for this conference has gone, so I'm very excited that the conference is underway. My name is Bree. I am the director of our new Create Justice, Access to Justice Research Center at the law school, and the Access to Justice coordinator. And so with those two roles, I have both a research and an action-oriented mandate, which this project fits very nicely with. So on the action side, as Beth mentioned, great interest in improving public legal information at critical gaps. That has been a key theme that has come up in Dean's Forum meetings, in working group meetings. We have a provincial working group that is looking at working on different issues, and it is something that comes up all the time. So with that hat, very much interested in this project that way. And with my Create Justice hat, in terms of research and action, the mandate of our center, this project just fits quite nicely. So a real interest in hearing from all of you who know your communities well. Thank you for being here. And I will pass the mic on to who next?
Hi there. I'm Melanie Hodges Neufeld. I'm with the Law Society of Saskatchewan. I'm their Director of Legal Resources, so part of my job is overseeing the physical library spaces that we have. We've been in existence for 110 years. We spent the majority of that 110 years meeting the public interest in the province by ensuring that the lawyers in the province had access to the resources they needed to provide competent representation. About in the last 10 years, that's really changed, and our scope has broadened in that there's been an increase in self-represented litigants in the province. So on top of that original, mandate of the Law Society to, again, provide competent representation or ensure competent representation, we've also been trying to meet the access to justice needs of the province. We have 16 branches throughout the province, and in 15 of those locations, we're the only legal collection available to the public. We've worked quite hard, especially in the last 10 years, to try to put as much information as we can online. We've worked really closely with CanLI, which some of you may or may not be aware of. Hopefully after the end of this conference, you'll know what that is. CanLI is it's a nationwide database of case law, and it's free and open to the public. So a couple of years ago, with help from the Law Foundation, we worked to increase the content on CanLI, and Saskatchewan now has the largest collection of case law of any jurisdiction in Canada on CanLI. So that's great. But at the same time, like I said, in most of our locations, still reliant on the print. It's the only collection available. We're here today and interested in the project because we really wanted, first of all, awareness, to get the word out to our partners that we exist, and that we have this collection available to the public, because we know that people are coming into the public libraries with questions and concerns and looking for resources, and fortunately, in some of your communities, you have someone to send them to, and that's us. So, and other than, again, awareness, it's really just looking for opportunities, partnerships with all of you. Excuse me, I've got a terrible cold. To see what the next steps are and how we can better work together to, I guess, more efficiently provide resources and really, again, make sure that the access is there for those who need it. Who should I pass it to next? Oh, that's easy. Here you go, Joel.
Thank you, Melanie. Joel Jano from PLE, Public Legal Education Association. I guess most in the room will know about us, and libraries, of course, all would have a spot for our materials somewhere. I'm here with Jocelyn today, and people will meet her. She's one of our legal writers and responsible for the great materials. We haven't been around for 140. What did you say, Melanie? I know. But it's been 37 years, and we were originally designated as a recipient of federal funds by Saskatchewan to be the designated public legal education and information agency. So we've worked with libraries since our very beginning 37 years ago. In fact, I think our first offices were in the Francis Morrison main branch in the basement. It was before my time, that's for sure, but I can't imagine being down there. It's nice, but it is a basement. We've always had partnerships with libraries. As I've said, these have changed over the years as libraries have changed, and as have we. Libraries, of course, are what we term intermediaries. In the course of your everyday work, yourselves, social workers, whoever may encounter people and do encounter people with legal difficulties or concerns. Again, we've always worked with helping intermediaries give that sort of information, and of course understanding what we have to offer is important for anyone who wants to offer access to justice in their daily work. And it can help libraries, of course, craft their own role in addressing access to justice by giving out legal information. I can't really say anything with respect to what I guess what we hope to glean the most from the next couple of days is to learn what you folks, the libraries, need most and what will help you most. Our thing's always going to be to produce that information, the great stuff you distribute for us and that people use. So coming out of here, as I say, we'll continue to produce that stuff and work with you to better get it out there. Thank you. I wanted to drop the mic.
Good afternoon. Charlene Sorenson, Associate Dean of the University Library, is unable to be with us, so if you'll forgive me, I'll just read remarks from Charlene. Thank you for the opportunity to provide information about the University of Saskatchewan Library. A little bit about the library. It is comprised of 7 branch locations on this campus, including the Law Library located in this building. The University Library's vision includes collaborating with our community to support success in learning, scholarship, and practice. While our primary focus is to serve the university campus community, the library also sees its role in supporting the broader information needs of the people of Saskatchewan. The employees of the Law Library assist members of the public who come in to conduct their own legal research or who are self-represented litigants preparing for court. Housed in the Law Library is the largest legal print collection in the province, comprised of both current and historic materials. This print collection, along with the library's extensive online collection, enhances those of other libraries in the province. With respect to our interest in this project, it directly aligns with the University Library's core strategy of relationships and engagement, particularly in the areas of collaboration and partnership building. The library is interested in maximizing the value of library budgets by seeking ways to increase access and to bolster the value of library budgets across the province by reducing the need for duplication through sharing. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and participate in this initiative.
And that was not Charlene Sorenson.
No,
That was Marilyn Gagne, who's the current administrative head of the Law Library, and she's accompanied by Greg Wurzer, who's one of the librarians in the Law Library, who will be shortly telling you what he thinks. So the last but not least member of the SALI partnership is the Saskatoon Public Library. And Shannon Mason, who's it says here, Manager Branches, Saskatoon Public Library, is here representing that library today.
Hi, everyone. So there are over 300 public library branches in Saskatchewan, and every Saskatchewan resident is a potential member of one of 10 library systems which cover the whole province. And because of our SILS policies, physical items can move between all of those branches. So if there are legal resources available in Saskatoon, anybody in Saskatchewan can get them through our SILS delivery system. Our interest in the project is that public libraries are community spaces. They have relatively low barriers of use. They're often nearby, but not always. And the service is free as long as people are able to get, yes, the services are free unless fines come into play. So meeting legal information needs is a way that libraries can contribute directly to the quality of people's lives. Some things that we have going forward, we're planning to hire social workers who will be able to act as referral sources for people at our downtown branch. We have online resources, and we'd like to improve those, maybe by having legal quick guides. And a priority of ours is training on the front line. So rather than having one legal librarian, we want everyone on our front line to be able to help people equally. So all points of access will lead to the same place. So that's the Saskatoon Public Library.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, I think we'll start here, and what I want you to do is take the microphone and tell us why you're here and what you think you are expecting from this conference and what your take on access to legal information is, and then pass it to the person next to you. I think you can do that.
And I can try and stand up, maybe. There we go. Chair in the way. Freaky. Okay, I'm Katrina. I'm from the Moose Jaw Public Library. I'm actually reference staff. So I'm here in part to kind of bring that perspective for our library and, help bring that back to the rest of the reference and information desk staff as well as everyone else. So I'm just here to learn as much as I can.
Hi, my name's Gwen, and I'm head librarian at the Moose Jaw Public Library. And I'm here with Katrina, so I'm really happy to have a frontline staff member here with me today. So we're very new to this project. This is the first time I've kind of heard about it, actually, seeing the conference sort of invitation. So we don't really have a clear framework, but definitely see the value that this could provide to our community, so that's why we're here. and also interested in how to create more confidence in our frontline staff to be able to respond to the needs that they meet at their desk.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tony Murphy. I'm the Regional Director at Wapiti Regional Library. There was some longevity, friendly boasting, I think, going on the other end there. So I'll say that Wapiti is the first regional library in Saskatchewan, and I'm proud to throw that out there, and that we've been around for 67 years. My reasons for being here are twofold. One is always to find ways to provide more for and better serve the communities in my region. And the other reason is always looking for new, better, broader partnerships. And I'll just briefly say that in the last 3 years, we've been working very productively with the Ministry of the Economy to provide job search centers at 2 of our larger communities in the region after the closure of the provincial employment centers. And that has been just a tremendous partnership and, frankly, an opportunity to get public libraries into another ministry in our government, which I think is absolutely crucial right now. So, I mean, any opportunity for partnerships and new initiatives with the Ministry of Justice, Wapiti is very interested in any conversations that can take place. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. My name is Jean McKendry, and I'm the director of Chinook Regional Library in southwestern Saskatchewan. I'm based in Swift Current, and we are very rural and very remote. And we have 32 branches in our communities. And I had the pleasure of coming to the first SALI Conference in 2016, thoroughly enjoyed it, and realized how much work we have to do in our rural communities. And the one thing that I've learned since the opportunity to come to the SALI Conference in 2016 is that none of our organizations in our region ever think of sending their clients to the public library for further legal information. And I'm glad to know that, because that means I know we have a lot of work to do. We're not doing a good enough job. So I'm really looking forward to learning everything I can to take back to my community about legal information. So thank you.
My name is Kimberly Hintz. I work at the Provincial Library and Literacy Office with the Ministry of Education. We are new to hearing about this project, but what we do is look at public library services and programs with a province-wide perspective. So anything that they are all interested in, we are interested in finding a way to support.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sunil Sarai. I'm at the Family Law Information Center with the Ministry of Justice. What I'm hoping to do with this conference is to build upon the relationships that we've already established with a lot of the people here in the room, and to build new relationships with the people that we haven't. In the last few years, we have partnered with the public libraries in Regina and Saskatoon and the Law Society Library in Pali. And it has enabled us to reach a lot more people in creating these partnerships, and so hopefully that's something that we can build upon.
Kim Newsham, also from the Ministry of Justice, so can I just say ditto? I'm not sure what else I can add to it, actually. We have found that the partnerships are crucial in this, and when we first started setting up information sessions to help the vast number of self-represented litigants in family law, that the best place that we thought people would be going for information would be libraries. They seem more accessible to people, so that's where we started our search, and it's been, in our perspective, very successful so far. So we're here to find out how we can keep that work rolling along. We're in Moose Jaw, most recently Saskatoon and Regina, so we'll come your way next. No, I'm just kidding. We haven't determined any specific location, and I should stop talking.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan Kilpatrick, and I am here with 2 hats today. I'm a law librarian at the Law Society Library in Regina. As Melanie mentioned, we provide the public and lawyers with legal information, and we're interested in learning how to better connect with public librarians in this province. I'm also here as a representative of the Saskatchewan Library Association. We are a provincial association that represents libraries, librarians, and library workers. And the SLA is interested in looking at how we can better support SALI. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ken Fox. I do in Saskatoon the same thing Alan does in Regina, Law Society Library. I guess what I want you to know is that the Law Society Library is a public library. We take public clients all the time. And we're pretty well resourced with legal materials. So public librarians know if someone's going to get to the stage where they're actually representing themselves, at some point maybe they should come visit us along their journey.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn from Public Legal Education. Joel already explained what we do. I guess as a major producer of legal information for the public, we're very interested in partnering with libraries to make sure that there's awareness and also to find out where there's gaps or needs for different types or topics of information.
Hello everyone, my name's Colin Evans and I'm the Community Services Librarian for Lakeland Library Regent. Serves over 30 libraries, and we have libraries in from Lloydminster up to Pierceland down to Borden and east to Hafford. So we encompass a very wide area, and we have a library at the Saskatchewan Hospital. So we're very well placed to provide legal information. And as my public librarian colleagues have eloquently explained the need for legal information, I won't necessarily repeat the reasons that they suggested, but I just think public libraries serve a very unique, important role in society. We're a place, open place where people can feel safe and gather information, and right now we need to increase the level of legal information that we provide to our citizens. And being in North Battleford with the various social issues that is within my region, it's a very important topic that's dear to my heart. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Janet Freeman, and I'm the former coordinator of the Law Matters in Your Local Public Library program in BC. So I'm one of the speakers, and there's lots of information in the program outline, and I'll be giving lots of details tomorrow in my talk about what we did. So I'm here to share what we did, and also to observe how you're going to do it here, and what kinds of questions you come up with that maybe we haven't thought of, and some of your solutions. So we'll be watching with great interest to see how you develop your program. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to sit down. I think I feel a bit more comfortable. So I'm Michelle Leering, and I'm a lawyer and an executive director with a community-based legal clinic in Ontario. And I'm at one of Ontario's 70 legal clinics. And I know we're fairly privileged because we're actually the only province that has a system that responds to empirical legal needs research when it designs its legal aid system. So we focus on roof on over your head, food on the table, and security at work as an important priority, an important legal aid and access to justice priority. And it's through that work that I've been privileged to do for more than 30 years that I was able to start a pilot project, a libraries and justice partnership, just a little tiny thing in our own community with librarians. And I'll be talking to you about that tomorrow. And it eventually has rolled up and involved our Community Legal Education Ontario. That's our public legal education clinic, and they're doing just absolutely amazing work I can't wait to tell you about. And I'm here because I'm excited about the work you're doing, and everything I've heard so far just makes me more excited because it resonates with all the themes that we've got going on in Ontario. And I know that Cleo is really excited to hear about what's happening out here in Saskatoon. They just emailed me again before I got here with telling me some more things that they're working on, and they're really eager to share with people. So I really love knowledge sharing. I love being with Janet because she was an inspiration to us when we started. She came to our provincial forum 2 years ago and spoke, and then she said she was retiring, by the way. Do you notice how retired she is? She can't leave it either. Very passionate, right? Exactly. Anyway, so I'm really glad to be here.
I'm going to also stay seated. My name is Chantal Johnson. I'm the director of Saskatchewan's only legal clinic, so something to aspire to. Michelle's one of 70. Partnership and community engagement is one of our clinic's foundational pillars, and so of most of the people from Saskatchewan here, we've partnered with you in some way or worked in some capacity. My interest in this is in continuing to build on partnership and figure out how we can help self-represented folks. As the only clinic in Saskatchewan besides our legal aid clinics that are doing direct frontline services, we see the dire need. We're turning away about 60% of all eligible clients. And so if we can find better ways to partner and send folks who we can't help to other places, then that helps us to actually fulfill our mandate. And I just want to do a light brag. Bree is one of our alumni, as is Janelle. And so one of our goals is to change the culture of the law and how lawyers operate. And so I think this is proof as to the efficacy of our programming, too.
Hello, everyone. My name's Helen McCutcheon. I'm the director of Parkland Regional Library. Main office is in Yorkton. We service 55 libraries in our region. I'm here because I'm very project-oriented, and I've listened to, sorry, I forgot your name already because I'm so bad at that, but talk about having the only unique library collection in print in the province. Well, that's something that can be digitized, and when I think I first talked to Bree about this program, my idea was we all have websites, we all share data, and I know our statistics over the last few years have shown that more and more of our patrons are coming in via our website. So we can have links to this. We can have links to digitized collections. We can envision a database where people can go and if they've got a legal issue, just selling your house, go to this wonderful website and find out what the steps are so that, you know, they're already prepared. And other things like have a inventory of all the lawyers in the province. So if you're a 40-year-old woman and you're getting a divorce in, say, Wynyard, Saskatchewan, you want to know, and you specifically want a female lawyer who's dealt in that area, then you can go and get a profile. So I'm looking for information like that and information that hopefully we could all build together and all access from our websites.
Hello, everyone. I'm Caitlin Nolan from Southeast Regional Library, and we are headquartered in Weyburn, and we have 47 branches in the Southeast area. I think my colleagues have pretty much summed everything up here, but the main purpose I just had written down was to learn how to provide more information to our patrons, and unique information as well, and to build new partnerships with everybody here today.
My name is Kim Hebig, and I'm the director at Wheatland Regional Library. And being second last director to talk, I've got not much left. Pretty much the same as all my colleagues. One thing for us, outside of the bedroom communities of Saskatoon, we're very rural. And so for us, it's looking for partners or avenues that are available in our communities that our local library staff can either work with or can direct patrons to. Some of our centers are very small, and there's not a lot of information out there, so anything that can be provided or where we can direct patrons to if we can't help them ourselves is really what we're looking for.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, down here, sorry. Can be a little loud at times. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I will be brief. So, my name is James Hope Howard. I am the director of the Pagasimanuya Library System, which is based out of La Ronge, Saskatchewan, and covers the entire NDA, Northern District of Administration, which begins just north of Prince Albert and goes all the way up to the territories, including everything between Alberta and Manitoba. It's a population of roughly maybe Prince Albert, and it's a landmass roughly the size size of Italy. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of remote access challenges involved. As it so happens, the person I rent my place from up there also works with the fly-out circuit courts. So she's familiar as well with, going out to Stony Rapids, providing information, doing everything, and then flying back in again. So, given these challenges of everything available, we want to make sure that we are able to go out, make centralized opportunities, and hopefully help people out with what we can, because it can be very, very remote seeming in some of these communities. And of course, I echo the sentiments of my public library director colleagues as well. You've spoken already, so I'll pass along to you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Longmore. I'm here from Pro Bono Law Saskatchewan. So for those of you who don't know, we're a nonprofit volunteer organization. We have a small staff of about 4 of us in Regina who administer free legal clinics throughout the province. We have about 11 locations, and as I said, we're volunteer based. So in Regina, our clinic runs every Saturday morning at the Salvation Army, but in other more rural, remote locations, because of our just limits to capacity with volunteers, we can only run the clinics once or twice a month. So I'm on the phone all day, every day with self-represented litigants who are looking for free legal advice. I refer hundreds and hundreds of times to the Family Law Information Center, to Sunil and Kim, as well as to PLEA. And so any other resource that we can offer clients to help them with their access to legal information, we're very excited to learn about. And I'm really excited to hear from people coming from other jurisdictions, Ontario, BC, and all the public library representatives here. I think that's pretty interesting and cool too, so thanks for having us.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I am the lead programming librarian for Regina Public Library. We are 100 years old, so not quite as old. We have 9 locations, and we started accessing or providing legal information through workshops, both throughout the year, but also we do a legal resources fair, which we've been doing for the last, this will be our 3rd year doing it. But one of the things we want to do is better support our frontline staff. Obviously, so many of them are the ones answering the questions, and also to look at ways that we can provide that information as it's needed, as opposed to just the workshops and programs that we offer. So happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg Burgess. I'm the law librarian here at the U.S. Law Library. I'm very pleased to be here. I'll be speaking more tomorrow, but I'm interested in looking at different ways that we can strengthen our partnerships with public libraries, with the Ministry of Justice, to provide public access to information. We do get self-represented litigants in our library, and I have helped several over the years, and I'm actually often quite amazed that even people will have even found us, and I recognize that to even come to the university and come into our library can be quite a challenge, especially for people not familiar with campus. So we certainly do whatever we can to help those people, and I'm always looking, and I am looking for different ways to help them, ways that we can improve our resources, and as I said, I'll be talking a bit more about this tomorrow morning. So thank you all for being here, and I'm very pleased on behalf of the Law Library to be part of this conference.
My name is Janelle Anderson, and I work for the Ministry of Justice in the Innovation and Legislation Division. Through our innovation agenda, we're looking at ways to make the justice system more timely, more affordable, and more understandable. Innovation is often thought of as new or different ways of doing things, so I'm excited about this project, looking at the existing resources we have in the province and ways to use those in better ways, and to reach more people, and to use those in innovative ways without reinventing the wheel. So really excited about this project and the possibilities that it presents. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Coleman Owen. I am a program coordinator at Pro Bono Students Canada here on campus. I am primarily responsible for live tweeting this event. So if you guys want to check us out on hashtag SK8J2017, you can see what I'm doing. I am also here because Bree has been a fantastic example, and she's encouraged me to come along and help her out. So that's why I'm here, and I think it's inspiring to see everybody coming together to work on improving access to justice together. I mean, here at the law school, we're in a little bit of a bubble, and it's nice to see the broader community's interest in this as well.
Hi, my name is Alex Santos. I'm also a program coordinator with PBSC. I'm a third-year student here at on campus. I'll be around all weekend taking notes at different sessions, and I'm really excited to hear about everyone's experiences in this area and to learn more about the partnerships and ways that libraries can increase access to justice in our communities. Bree also wanted me to plug that I wrote a paper, actually. I'm a classic alumni as well. And for my clinical paper, I wrote about the ways that public libraries can support prisons and prisoners in regards to access to legal information. So yeah, just excited to learn and hear about all your experiences.
So you guys are far too succinct. So you didn't occupy, we didn't have to get the hook for any of you. I wondered if any of you have any questions, or if anyone said something so mysterious you'd like to find out more about it, or if you would just like to sort of pursue something that somebody said. Oh, certainly. Well, I think the live streaming people.
Volume right now. So, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name either because, Helen. Okay, I'm Melanie. So, just to follow up on a couple of things that you mentioned. So, first of all, a lawyer directory. Well, that's kind of an easy one because we have one at the Law Society on our website already. So, we don't have it broken down by practice area, but we do have it broken down by lawyer. You can tell if they're male or female and what area of the province they're in, so what city they're in. So, I mean, that's one little bit of information. If you have someone saying, hey, I'm looking for a lawyer, go to the Law Society website. There's a whole database there. Probably. Yeah. Give me a call. We'll see what we can work out. We can at least, have of course you can include links from for the Law Society on your websites. We'd love that. Oh, okay. Right. Well, and another thing I was just going to add to that too. So we're in the process of a website redevelopment. So again, we redesigned our website about 8 years ago, and at the time we thought it was super awesome. And it was actually me who has absolutely no experience in that area. I'm a lawyer. And at the time, I was actually complaints counsel with the Law Society, which meant I dealt with complaints. I redesigned our website 8 years ago because that's just the way we do things at the Law Society, or used to, where everyone pitches in and we're a small organization. So we've realized now, again, with the growth in self-represented litigants, that our website is very lawyer-focused. All the content there was written by lawyers for lawyers, and again, we patted ourselves on the back and thought we'd done a great job. Now reading it or getting outside people to read it, we realize the content is very legalese. All the correct information is there, but it's not in any way directed towards the public. So we should be launching a new website in, I think, about March, if we stay on our timelines. So it's going to have a much more public-facing, website, more focus on the public. We may even have it so that you come to that front page and there's a whole, you make that decision right there for the public, for lawyers, and that way it's actually directed at who it should be directed at. Part of that, though, is when you're talking about having a database where people could go and find the information they need, is we're launching It's supposed to have been about a month ago, but we're a bit behind schedule. A new system called Primo, and it's a new library catalog that we're putting in. Now, our traditional catalog that we have now allows our members or the public to search our print collection, and that's about it. Well, we've expanded beyond that. We still have an extensive print collection, it's still very important, but this Primo system will allow us to catalog whatever we want. So the first step is getting our print collection in there, which we're doing now, or should be done now. But we also have numerous Law Society resources that are hidden away on our website. We have licenses or in-house materials we've created that are, again, hidden away on our website. It's hard to find. But we're going to catalog those in there. So again, the public can come, type in a keyword, and they'll get whatever resource they need. The next step is contacting some of our partners, like Plea. I've spoken with Joel already. There's nothing stopping us from putting links to all your resources in there as well. So if Plea's created a great resource on family law, type in family law, that's going to pop up. You can link to Plea right from our website. So I'll send much more information out about this once we kind of hit all these milestones on it, but really excited about it. We really want our website to be that portal for the public so that all of you can direct your patrons to us and they can find what they need. Joel?
If everyone could just replace what Melanie just said about their library with Plea, it kind of fits along. We of course have a huge digitized set of information. We hope all the public library websites can link to it and do link to it. We too are redoing our website, so watch for that. It should be much more usable and or user friendly, as we say. Again, I encourage everyone to, please link to us. I meant to point out too that two of our board members are here today, and Melanie and Janelle, so we're really pleased to have that support as well. Thanks.
Does anybody else have a burning question or concern? I hope Glenn wrote down all the things that people have committed you to. That's right. Okay. Well, I think on that note, we'll probably give you your break. I can't guarantee that the coffee is here. It probably isn't. But you'll have a chance to talk to each other, and Bree can give you the hi sign when she wants you to reassemble. So I'm sure you'll enjoy sort of making each other's acquaintance and having a bit of a discussion with each other. So we'll see you at session 2 or whatever it's called. Is that an official category of plea board members? A kind of board member? Okay. See you soon.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. So I am pleased to introduce our first panel. That's actually a panel. It's called Reflections on Data Collection in Public Libraries and Legal Information Needs. And so just a quick note on the format of the remaining panels for the conference. Each will have a panel of people. Will talk for about 30 minutes total, and then transition into about 30 minutes of small group discussion, and then come back, report back, and then talk about next steps. So that's just a note on what you can expect for format. And similarly with the keynote lectures, with the exception of John Greason's presentation tonight, the two keynotes tomorrow will similarly be about a half-hour presentation and large group discussion, 30 minutes of small group discussion, and then 30 minutes of coming back and talking about next steps. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce my fellow panelists. We have Colin Evans, Janelle Anderson, Shannon Mason, and myself. Just to note the theme of this panel, the theme is increasing empirical information on patrons and librarians' legal information needs. And so as part of this, I'll be summarizing a pilot data collection tool, the findings from this pilot. And Colin will be speaking about his experience with it and some of his library staff feedback. Janelle will be providing a bit of a larger context and with respect to data collection in the justice system. And Shannon will be speaking about some of the initiatives at the Saskatoon Public Library. So after our panel, we'll move into small groups, and the discussion for that, just to give you a heads up, we're going to ask you to speak about libraries as part of the Access to Justice solution and on expanding the reach of data collection in order to improve legal information resources and needs in Saskatchewan. So with that, I'll turn it over to Janelle, and then Shannon, and then myself and Colin. And I can bring the mic over there, or if you prefer to come up. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is the mic picking me up okay like this? No? Okay, let's come closer. Is the mic picking me up now? Still no. Maybe does this mic not work? Is the mic picking me up now? Okay. I will speak closely. Okay. So, thank you for coming out today and for having me participate in this panel discussion. I've been asked to provide a bit of context about the importance of and need for more empirical study from the justice perspective and in the justice sector. I work, as I mentioned earlier when I introduced myself, I work with the Saskatchewan Ministry of Justice in the Innovation and Legislation Division. Through our innovation agenda, we're focused on trying to advance a variety of initiatives aimed at improving justice, improving the justice system by making it more timely, more affordable, and more understandable. We recognize that the justice system, as it currently exists, does not serve the needs of everyone in our Saskatchewan community. There are gaps in access to appropriate legal supports and dispute resolution options for a significant segment of our population. Part of my job is to support the advancement of a range of initiatives aimed at improving the system and the options and supports that are available. The first step in any reform effort is to understand the problem. This is important to make sure that you're identifying the right types of interventions to make, and to be able to assess over time whether the interventions you do make are able to achieve their intended objective. To be able to assess the success of any initiative, you need to have a baseline of information that describes the current state so that you can measure how that intervention impacts the future state. In the justice system, unfortunately, we have not traditionally had a culture of performance measurement and empirical study, especially if you compare it to other public service industries and areas. In the past, a lot of the legal scholarship has primarily been connected to academic-focused investigations or legal analysis to inform the advancement of law itself, including legal policy and legal principles. The study of the system and the processes within the system and the experience of people using the system has, by contrast, been more on the fringes of legal scholarship. Only in the past, I would say, decade or so, has the legal academy, and by that I mean the law school and the legal institutions, really embraced the empirical study of the system itself. Outside of the legal academy, the system itself, I would suggest, has been even slower to embrace the concept of performance measurement and empirical study. Our legal system has been built on the basis of incremental advances that are informed primarily by the wisdom of the past. Through our common law system, the development of law itself is based on precedent by examining how the law has been applied in previous cases and then applying those identified legal principles in a measured way to new issues that appear before the court. Empirical study and evaluation has not traditionally been part of that process. Because there's no precedent for it, and our focus is on precedent, there's a fairly significant resistance to introducing the level of inspection and evaluation that's really necessary to uncover, unpack, and understand what's happening in our justice system and why people are unable to engage the system to enforce their rights and to resolve their issues effectively. Traditionally, many insiders in the justice system have made the assumption that if we design the system and the processes to be fair in accordance with charter rights and procedural rights, and we administer the law in accordance with sound legal principles, then justice will be served. But more and more we recognize that this assumption doesn't bear out in reality. More and more people are unable to access justice because they're unable to access and effectively engage with the legal system. A lot of what we base our work on is what we know anecdotally. We know what we're told by people, we know what we see playing out in the courts, and by observing the type of issues people are experiencing out in the community. We know anecdotally that we're not meeting the needs of everyone, but we're unable to describe exactly what those needs are, what those barriers and gaps are in a specific context, and exactly what interventions are going to make a meaningful difference, and exactly how and exactly why. The reason is because we don't typically empirically collect and track that type of information. Because we don't have a baseline for this type of information, it becomes difficult to demonstrate why certain interventions are warranted or to describe or measure how certain interventions will make an impact. In turn, from a very practical perspective, for many of us working in the justice system and trying to make the justice system better for our community, we're forced to compete for investment in our interventions from a pool of scarce public resources. And it becomes difficult to justify requests for investment in certain interventions if the evidence base is not there to support why and precisely how a certain intervention is going to make a difference in the system overall and in the lives of those who are engaging with the system. So in my view, the single most important thing we can do to support improving access to justice is to invest our time and energy into collecting information and data that helps us to describe the problem and the issues that people are experiencing, not just in theoretical, anecdotal ways, but in true empirical ways. and to develop a culture of empirical performance evaluation and empirically informed decision making that we see in other public service fields. For this reason, I am so excited to support the development of Create Justice, as you've heard, that has been announced at the College of Law, with its mandate of fostering a community of research and evaluation in the justice sector. I'm also very excited to see that data collection was incorporated as part of this SALI project. I'm excited to hear the results of the data that we're going to hear about shortly. And as we discuss the possibilities of looking to libraries to improve access to justice as trusted intermediaries, and to incorporate libraries into our approach to address the access to justice problem, I'm really excited to see how our discussion can be advanced through a better understanding of the needs as they're presenting in libraries, as informed by the data collection tool that was incorporated into the project. So to summarize, just at a very high level, empirical study, I think, is very important to advance access to justice because it helps us describe and understand the problem in more concrete ways. It helps us to identify meaningful interventions. It helps us to obtain investment in meaningful interventions. It helps us to measure and demonstrate the impact of the interventions that we do make, which in turn helps us to better understand the problem and how we can adjust our approach to better meet the needs and to better address the problem. So I think I've taken about my allotted time, so I'm going to pass the mic over to my next presenter, which I think is Colin? No, Shannon. Thank you.
Can we hear me? All right. So the Saskatoon Public Library has recently been transitioning, or is preparing to transition into what's called the community-led model. The community-led model is essentially we let the public tell us what they want from us, and we give that to them rather than our telling the public what we think they want and giving that to them. As a result, we've had a lot of balls in the air. But one important aspect of this is that in order to know what the public wants, we need accurate data regarding that. So the collection of data is very important. There are many streams, and there's a community-led toolkit if you ever want to read all the different ways to do it, and we will be following all of them. But having accurate access to data is very important. So some ways to collect that data can include legal materials, the circulation of legal materials. We've been tracking how we have access to our legal databases and how well that they're used. I can say I tried going on one of our legal databases, and as a librarian, I couldn't figure out the search function. So likely as the public won't have much luck with it either. Tracking the use of pamphlets, and it would be something that we haven't done, but what would be a possibility would be tracking legal reference questions specifically. So we track our reference questions by different categories, and adding one for legal reference questions would be a valuable insight into how people are actually asking legal questions. This ties into issues of privacy. Of course, as a public library, we want people to use our resources in such a way that they know that nothing's going to be revealed. So considering privacy when it comes to our collection of data is also very important. We also want to be able to scale to the rural libraries as well. So scalability, privacy, any tool that we have, we want to be able to share and use collectively for the good of everyone in Saskatchewan. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon and Janelle. Before I begin, has everyone received the Sask Access Legal Information Project survey questions here? If not, I'll just... So before I go into any detail, the four kind of key areas I'm going to talk about today was the methodology involved with this data pilot collection tool, the opportunity and its importance, 3, the challenges that arose with the tool and the pilot, and 4th, some preliminary observations of the data. So we haven't finished the project yet. We don't have a report out yet, but I do want to provide some kind of preliminary observations that I've seen through my own analysis of the data so far. So the overall goal of the project is to collect some data via public libraries that could help to improve access to legal information across the province, which is intended to mutually benefit the participating communities. One of the common themes that emerged from the September 2016 meeting was a recommendation to increase data collection. Specifically, the group last year expressed an interest in circulating a common tool that could collect data on public legal information inquiries. So the project was intended to be exploratory and potentially longitudinal in nature. The potential significance is that the data could help inform and improve the creation of legal information resources for the public and improve access to justice. So the template for the data collection tool was provided by the Public Legal Education Association of Saskatchewan and was adapted by us in collaboration with the public library staff that were involved with the pilot. So in terms of, I'd maybe turn your attention to the tool itself. We basically collected 3 key points of information. We wanted to know how long people were spending on public libraries on legal information inquiries. Secondly, what areas of law patrons were coming in with legal information inquiries. And third, what, if any, referral was made. So those were the 3 key areas that we focused on for the pilot. The pilot phase was conducted over a 3-month duration to test the overall viability of the project. And the pilot launch was programmed through, we have an initiative here at the university called the Social Science Research Lab. And it's a lab, well, it is comprised of multiple labs, one of which has a qualitative focus. And so we enlisted the services through that lab to do the pilot. A second part of the survey, as you'll notice on the back of the paper, was a library demographic survey that we had each library complete. And the remainder of the survey was to be completed multiple times by survey respondents. So each library participating filled out the demographic survey, and every time a patron came in with a legal information related question, the library staff was the one to fill out the survey. So with this, we undertook the pilot phase. And the idea was that if the pilot phase was successful, which we are still determining, and we'll be looking to people in the audience to help us determine if it would be helpful to launch into a phase 2 of the project that would scale up in terms of the public libraries involved. So as I previously indicated, the data was collected for approximately 3 months. In what we anticipated would be 6 centers based on the initial public library staff that were at the first SALI meeting. And we agreed if other libraries were interested in participating, they could participate. But we stuck with the 6 libraries. So moving on to my second point, having outlined the research methodology and approach, the opportunity and level of importance. So It was determined that the three main objectives of the pilot project were, one, to collect some basic data that may help to inform the development of legal collections and information resources in public libraries. Two, to elicit feedback about the tool and library staff's needs regarding assisting patrons on legal information inquiries. And three, to possibly inspire a second project phase, as I mentioned, that would involve data collection among a greater number of public libraries in Saskatchewan. So moving on to my third point, we had some challenges with the pilot data collection phase. We were undertaking the project in the spring, so as you'll imagine, the timing was very poor. We were delayed in terms of, that wasn't a big deal, in being delayed to start the pilot by a month. But with that, there were personnel changes during the pilot, which significantly impacted our data collection ability. Another challenge that we heard anecdotally, and I think Colin will elaborate on, was that there were, I think, some buy-in issues as well. I'm sure the public library staff will agree that you have a lot of different and demanding tasks that you have to undertake, and filling out the tool for some, I think, was a bit burdensome. That said, I am excited to share some of the preliminary results that I've looked at. As I mentioned, pardon me, report is yet to be produced. And the results are not statistically meaningful, but there is some real interesting and helpful information to be learned in the data that was collected. The number of responses that we received was 46. 3 of the 6 sites, just some general information before I launch into some of the other statistics that were collected, but 3 of the 6 sites were impacted by personnel changes in the middle of the data collection. So for the first question, what was found was, and I'm going to, with each of the 3 key questions, just provide one brief key observation as a takeaway that hopefully will be helpful as you embark on your small group discussions. So first of all, time spent on request. Key observation here that I found interesting was that 32 of the 46 responses from library staff, or what would be almost 70%, spent between 1 to 15 minutes and no longer. So 17 responses spent between 1 and 5 minutes, 15 responses between 6 and 15 minutes in helping the patron with providing legal information. 9 staff members spent 16 to 30 minutes, and no staff members spent upwards of 31 minutes, or over an hour with the one patron. Moving on to the second question in front of you, what was the legal information topic you spoke about with the library patron? My key observation there in the data was that in such a small sample size, the areas of law that patrons came in with questions was really vast, and I'll just go through what was found. So there were 8 criminal inquiries, 5 building code inquiries, 1 debt inquiry, 9 family law inquiries, 4 inquiries regarding finding a law or other legislation, 4 questions about a government agency, 6 inquiries related to health, so like, for example, healthcare directive, 1 human rights question, 4 immigration or refugee questions, 1 power of attorney question, no real estate questions, interestingly, 6 rental-related questions, 1 small claims, 7 tax-related questions, 2 wills and estates, 2 working employment or labor questions, and 5 other. So what was listed under other was a passport issue, directions to the plea office, looking for a circulating copy of a law book, looking for case studies and transfer of ownership. So it really struck me in such a small number of responses, just the variety of legal information areas that patrons came in to find information about. So the last question, did you provide the library patron with a referral? The key observation I made here, there were a lot of different referrals that were made, but what I found most interesting in the data here was that almost 30% of the library staff who filled this out as having spoken with someone about a legal information question didn't make a referral. So 30%. And to that I ask, why? So was it that the library patron didn't want a referral? Was it that there wasn't an appropriate resource available to the patron? Was it that the library staff was maybe unaware of a legal information resource that the patron maybe could have benefited from? And yeah, so that was the key observation on that question. But we did see a couple of referrals to 211 Saskatchewan, 3 referrals to another library, a referral to Classic, a couple to the Family Law Information Center, none to the Family Matters program, 1 to the Family Law Information Session, 9 to different government agencies, 3 library staff suggested contacting a lawyer, 1 to legal aid, 3 referrals to Pro Bono Law Saskatchewan, and 7 to plea. And then, as I mentioned, about 30%, which was about 13 inquiries, didn't result in a referral. Other referrals that were made and were recorded by library staff included referral to a website and office specific to the community, to a plea pamphlet, to a library book, to free websites, to library staff helping the patron to find the information they needed on the shelf, so actually helping as kind of a navigator in the inquiry, and also a referral to CanLII. So that brings us to so what? So what next? I think that despite the challenges and limitations faced in administering and collecting data over a short period of time, the results, pardon me, here do indicate that members of the public in Saskatchewan are going to their libraries for legal information in a variety of areas of law. And I think the question of why were referrals not made is an interesting one for this group to ponder in the small group discussions. And something else that I wanted to mention in closing was that, of course, further analysis of this data will be helpful, and I'll keep you apprised of that. But what I would put out to this group is that it's interesting how just even a short pilot provides quite an interesting snapshot. And I think when we think about collecting data, sometimes it can seem large and burdensome and onerous, but that maybe what might be helpful moving forward would be thinking about if it would be helpful to collect data all the time, or just at certain times throughout the year, or to on a yearly basis pick a couple of months throughout the year to collect data in order to get a snapshot of where the legal information needs and gaps are in the province.
Could you clarify for me, I may not have heard it correctly, was it 30% did get referrals or 30% did not get referrals?
30% did not, yeah.
Hopefully everyone can hear me. So to start, I would like to thank my fellow panelists for their valuable insights, highlighting the need and importance of increasing the level of empirical data regarding legal information requirements for the public in Saskatchewan. So when I first heard of SALI last year, I was quite excited to be part of the project and curious to see how one could design a data collection tool that could be readily accessible to the broad range of public that libraries serve in Saskatchewan. And to describe this as an easy project to undertake would be an understatement. And there are numerous issues that will need to be addressed before moving forward. First, I think it needs to be recognized that smaller urban centers and their even smaller rural counterparts, and when I say this, I mean libraries, do not enjoy the same resources that larger urban centers have in staffing expertise and, quite simply, time. Therefore, efforts must be made to create buy-in among staff to ensure this initiative doesn't get lost in the shuffle of the multitude of projects that many sole charge branch library staff must take care of during their daily duties. For example, at Lakeland Library Regent, and I'm sure many of my counterparts will attest to, a significant portion of my branches are only open 15 hours a week or less, thus leaving little time to devote to an initiative of this type. I dealt with this myself by continuously promoting this initiative and individually calling each branch for their data results near the conclusion of this project. This, I feel, would not be a sustainable approach for all libraries to take. So I'm quite excited to hear what Saskatoon has planned for their scalable data collection project. On the pilot questionnaire specifically, the main issue was on the section on library demographics. This section was particularly challenging to my branch librarians, twofold for the time involved obtaining this information and the relative complexity of some of the questions. So those were the questions relating to the size of the collection, how many members of the community in their geographic area do they represent. Example could be the census data. Which data should you use to try obtain this information? Where to find this information? So rather difficult. My first suggestion on that is discussing whether this information is actually vital to the goals that we are trying to achieve. As I mentioned, it was a hurdle to complete for the staff and myself. Secondly, I feel if this information is indeed crucial to the success of this project, we might be able to obtain this data by other means, such as directly from the regional headquarters, who will have the most accurate information, or in a second alternative could be the Provincial Library and Literacy Office. In terms of the legal questionnaire portion, the topics were broad enough to be understandable to the general public and the branch staff to fill out. The only area of confusion that was encountered was the occasional branch librarian who misunderstood that the survey was meant for library staff to complete as opposed to members of the general public. Now, having said all that, there's another issue which may be a bit awkward to bring up, but it should be. Feel like it's a bit of an elephant in the room, is simply stated members of the public do not immediately think of going to the library for legal information. I think this was touched upon when there were some introductions. The lack of participation and the low number of legal questions posed to my staff was a bit disheartening, and to put it bluntly, I think that would be the most immediate threat to the success of this initiative. Although public libraries traditionally have been centers of knowledge, and still are, that members could go visit for reference services, we have evolved, and so have the information gathering needs and strategies of the general public. This, of course, can be overcome, but it will require a targeted advertising campaign to explain the role of public libraries in society and how they can provide up-to-date and current information to the public, meaning legal information as well. So, in closing, I do feel it is important to continue on in this project, as I was pleasantly surprised by the breadth of legal questions posed to the staff at Lakeland, which Bree has pointed out. So there's definite need to continue and expand on this project. Some of the suggestions I would recommend to ensure the longevity of this project are as follows. This type of campaign needs to be regularly advertised with posters, social media, and other forms of advertisements, including links on all the public library pages throughout the province. And I also think it should be done at same time each year so it becomes routine for our branch libraries and staff going forward. Second issue, there's many different sources of legal information within the province. My staff felt a bit overwhelmed when I was explaining some of the legal information resources they could use. So it will be beneficial if we can find a way to sort of concisely explain what legal resources are best to be used and when. So thank you very much for listening, and I really look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts during the working group discussions. Thank you.
All right, before we break out, are there any questions on or towards any of the panelists? Seeing none, we are ready to begin the small group discussion portion of this session. You will have received, and if you haven't, when I finish talking, please put your hand up and I'll provide you with a sheet. A list of discussion questions and an assigned group that we'll have you go into. I will put up the discussion questions as well on the overhead here. We'll have 4 groups, there's 6 groups total, 4 groups remain in the room in each of the 4 corners, and 2 groups go outside of the room. So in terms of the groups, we have for each group a facilitator and recorder. So in group 1, meeting and I'll read out everything and then invite you to get up and move. So group 1, we have meeting in the front corner left with Beth. Group 2 in the front corner right, yes, right, with Joel. Group 3 meeting in the back corner left with Jocelyn. Group 4 in the back corner right with Melanie. Group 5 with Janelle here by the green chairs, so you'll be heading out that door there. And group 6 can follow me over in that direction. We'll find some chairs to have a discussion out there. In terms of the discussion questions, don't anticipate that, well, I hope you do, but we do have a number of questions for you to consider. And I'll just read them quickly so that when you get into your small groups, you can get right into discussion. So I note, first thing, please do assign someone in your group to report back to the larger group. So after this half hour, we'll come back and we'll report back 2 to 3 key points that your group came up with related to the following 6 questions. So first question, we're interested in asking the public libraries and the other library folks in the room, do you collect data in your library? Do you have any data, existing data on patrons' requests for legal information? Second, would you be willing, if you don't already collect data, would you be willing to collect data in your library? Do you have an existing way of collecting this data now? So that kind of feeds into what we're talking about with the Saskatoon Public Library in terms of some existing infrastructure and ideas there. How could we help make it easy for you to collect that data? So existing data collection tools, be it the one we just piloted or otherwise. Third, would the data collection tool that was just presented to you be helpful? Would you suggest any changes or additions to the tool? 4, what other kinds of data collection might be useful? 5, did you hear anything else from the speakers that you'd like to discuss? And 6, what next steps could we take? And I'd like to emphasize that 6th question. We are hoping as much as, excuse me, as much as possible that we can come up with some next steps here. So don't be overwhelmed by the number of questions. We hope that you get through as many as you can, but more than anything, hope that you have a fruitful discussion, that you can come back with some next steps for us to think about. So with that, I invite you to head into your small groups. If anyone isn't listed, and it's quite possible that that may have happened in my allocating of folks to different groups, just come and let me know and we'll make sure you have somewhere to go. It's now 4, so invite you to come back at 4:30, and then we will embark on the reporting back and the next steps discussion from 4:30 until 5. And welcome to the new students in the room. Thank you for coming to record.